Hello everybody, and welcome to Growing My Grandpa, a small indie horror game which I have... Hello? Stream elements? Huh. Anyway, so this is a small indie horror game that was recommended to me, and wanted to check it out. It's supposed to be good enough for one stream, so that's what we're gonna do. It may go a little long. Who knows? Anyway, why is Stream Elements talking for the first time that I've ever seen? Oh well. Let's start. I hope that the sound... I don't know if this is supposed to have sound. Would you like to view the tutorial regarding the basic game mechanics? Sure. Designed to be played with the mouse. The input requires you based around clicking the mouse buttons. The right mouse button will change the cursor's image and function. Only when pointing, indicated by the extended index finger, can you, the player, interact with certain menu buttons and prompts. Please click below the pointing menu in the pointing mode to continue. Hello. The second cursor mode is indicated by the cursor's image featuring a hand extending all fingers. This mode concerns interacting with objects inside the world, mainly picking up an object and moving it into another position. To continue, please pick up the piece of trash on the right-hand side and place it in the trash can on the left. Remember, the right mouse button will change the cursor's mode, but when holding something, the mode cannot be changed until the cursor is not holding something. That's it. There will be many situations in Growing My Grandpa that will require you to pick things up, place things, grab things, or give things. Don't be afraid to experiment. That is what she said. And keep an open mind about using your hand. Please click the button below to continue. Remember, menu buttons must be clicked in the pointer mode. In order to expedite the cleaning process, you can use digits 1, 2, and 3 in the keyboard's number row at the top of the keyboard to reposition the trash can below. Try moving the can to the right of the screen, 3 on your keyboard in order to continue. All right. A variety of video options can be changed anytime using the function keys, F3, F4, F5. Disable shader effects, cycle through display resolution options, F5 to change cursor types. There are 3 cursor color schemes available, plus left-handed variants of each color scheme. By default, Growing My Grandpa is scaled up by a factor of 2, and the shader is set to low. Teaching Zoomers how to point-and-click adventure work. Yeah, it used to be they just put you in a room and tell you to figure out how to get out of it. Configuration options overlay. Yes, that's it. Hovering over a small question mark in the top right provides an overlay related to available configuration options. Try hovering over it. This will be available at all times during the game. That's it. Thus ends the tutorial. We were just getting rolling on it. This wasn't boring at all. I hope you enjoyed Growing My Grandpa. Infinite thanks to my patrons and supporters for believing in me and my work. I don't know if it's Yams, Yames, Yamme. Let's begin. Again, I'm not hearing any sound. There might not be much. I excused Adreline during music class today and spoke with her about her recent string of demerits. It was our first time meeting outside of our quarterly evaluations, and I believe it went well. I can certainly understand Mrs. Richardson's classroom observations concerning Adreline's emotional state. She was, of course, intensely shy when we first met. As I understand it, she's similarly withdrawn in her classroom activities and only speaks or acts when she absolutely must. Some things she simply will not do. Instead of participating in mandatory group activities, she will sit alone and accept that she will receive a demerit. Before the meeting, I read Miss Richardson's parent-teacher report, which allowed me to estimate some about Adraline's home life. The parents are well educated and came from a prestigious background, but they lack time to properly nurture Adraline. She is often alone, and when she is not, the parents seem to not understand the importance of warmth and affirmation when dealing with someone so young. Having two parents of this reserved and icy temperament exacts an inhibition in a child. The child's imagination is subdued, but most ostensibly, where it eventually finds its way into regular life. I surmised that I would be able to reach out to Adrienne, by way of make-believe. How are you liking your new house? You've told me you used to live close by, but it can still be a big adjustment. A new room, new school. The basement. I like that. The basement? Yeah. Well, there's a lot of cool stuff. Mom and Dad sent me down there. Your mom and dad made you go? Yeah, but there's lots of cool stuff. Well, it's not why they sent me down there, though. Why did they send you down there? Fighting. They were fighting, shouting. I came in to help, and they shouted at me. They said, go clean up downstairs, so I went. That sounds tough. Do they fight a lot? No, well, It's all right, Adrienne. Maybe you can tell me more about the basement instead. Okay, well, it was weird at first, the stuff down there, but cool. I found something living, sort of. That's very interesting, Adrenaline. Please tell me more. By indulging in her fantasies and stories, I was able to glean more of an understanding of Adrienne's anxiety surrounding her home and parents. The symbols of Adrienne's story seemed to carry her own traumatic weight, and her exploration of the basement may very well be a vehicle for the convenience of her anxiety. Whatever may come of our next meeting, whether she will engage in similar make-believe, I will set down her story here. Oh, there should be audio. Ah. Adrienne. Adrienne's story begins with her delving into the basement with a trash receptacle and the goal of cleaning up. She discovered one of the walls was covered in plastic bags. She went to investigate, intent on tearing away whatever they covered. Okay. If sound, why no sound? Because I've got it turned on in Wavelength. Some games are just like that. You gotta restart them. I don't even know how to... Escape does not do anything for the... Let's try... Boop boop. Anything? No, it doesn't look like it. Oh, well, that's... Well, option B is restarting the game. Editor, remove this part. Ah, there it is. Okay. one more time. I just woke up for a nap right before stream anyway. I got like 3 or 4 hours of sleep before that, and then ended up just crashing halfway through the day. All right, here we are. So, trash bags. Upon removing the plastic trash bags from the wall, she noticed their interior lining was covered in glass. Like a window, it offered. Or, like a window, I offered. No, she said, like a mirror. Reflecting inward towards the animal they covered. I gently asked her what exactly this animal was. Here is where the material reality of the story took a turn for the explicitly fantastic and imaginary. Upon her discovery of it, at her gaze, it grew or extended its shaggy-haired self. Hair, like the fur of a dog, I offered. No, she said. Not the fur of a dog, nor the hair on her head. It grew out towards her, the animal's hair reaching out. It was hard, standing almost straight, the hair on a brush. A bristle, I offered. Yes, she said. She was very afraid at first, but then very curious. I asked her what else was in the room. More things hidden away, she said. Things of Grandpa's as well. First, she found a hidden passage under the stairs. Inside were strange dolls, magic objects, naked, faceless features. I heard these cryptic utterances and merely nodded. In order to keep the game of make-believe going, I only pressed for details where I thought necessary. The faceless dolls could be simple metaphor for the anonymity and anonymity anonymity. I was right. She feels in her own home. The hidden passage, I am unsure of what to make of that. The revealing of the concealment seems to be thematic to her fantasy. The door under the stairs is but one example. So that's a pile of question marks. This is nothing. Little grabby child. Another trash pile and another question mark. Okay. The darkness of the shadowy corner unnerves you. You cannot explore here without some form of light. Alright, dog creature. This is definitely some kind of door or closet, and we're going to need something to open it. The only other thing we have to interact with is this trash pile. We have very few ways to interact with the world. Not a lot of ones that are doing much. Your spooky narrator voice is glottal enough and inconsistent enough to be off-putting, not spooky. Your normal voice tones sound better? Ah. Sorry about that. Sometimes about how it comes across on my end, it's like I can only parse half of it. That's unfortunate. I like that voice. If we're looking for a light source, there's one on the ceiling, but obviously it's not really... Whoop. There was something. Once she removed the panel and found the magical hidden passage, she was very specific about what she took. She found a magical book, a magical doll, a photo of her late grandpa, and magical glue. Let's take the doll. A slouching doll, its material is rough and coarse. Glue. Several pieces of paper. Paper is crudely bound together to form a book. Urison step, shamanism, and the fusiform gyrus, an interdisciplinary study in sympathetic magic, a dissertation by Jacob Hart. A photo of your late grandfather. That is a wicked mustache. On the reverse side of the photograph, there is more text. Good luck on your trip to the Urals. Urals? And glue. All-purpose glue. I interrupted to ask what she did with these magical, mysterious materials. Grow grandpa, she explained playfully. And then, without missing a beat, she continued on with her story. Feeling when this was a potent symbol, I stopped her again to ask what she meant. Somewhat puzzled, I did not understand immediately. She explained slowly. Grandpa lives in the cage in the other room. The cage behind the door. They grew people in the cage. A hastily written note. I have repeatedly called your home to no avail, and so I am forced to leave this here for you all. I found William sitting in the corner of the enclosure area, seeming severely concussed. Whiskers was gone, in none of his usual hiding places. I immediately suspected the worst. The project thus must be suspended for now. I am leaving up the usual mirrored coverings we use to keep the anthropoid void sealed. I have done my best to lock up everything on such short notice. It is a hasty fix, but it will require some time to find a more permanent reality. I am honestly hoping that you do not find this note, as I intend to lock the house down too. I intend to race off to you to retrieve your lockbox keys. Do not worry about William's key. It and the rest of his equipment are almost certainly deep within Whiskers now. I pray you do not enter this room. No matter how it may appear, William cannot be helped and is only being kept as alive as a means of continuing predation on the rest of us. I will say once again, no matter what state you may encounter William in, it cannot be helped. I have sympathy for the young man, I truly do, but I found on his person several photos of his late sister, which would imply certain risks he knew he was taking. Our extant research materials have now become possible liabilities, either criminal or professional in nature, so I have stashed them away. I believe I let you all know how I might do this if we were ever to experience an event such as this. I hope you all remember what I told you. So long, then. Okay. I have the option to just enter or keep reading what could possibly be instructions or warnings. I'll read the first one just to see where we're up against. A note on an experiment, 1 of 4. 1. For the sake of university policy and the health of any future career you hope to have, you will abide by the non-disclosure contract you have signed. 2. Do not break the anthropoid vacuum without any prior consultation and approval. 3. Any anthropoidic forms brought into the enclosure area must not be left unattended. When not in dormancy, the sample will attempt to take anthropoid shells. Please shell notes for more on that. The sample's 4. The sample's exposure to some of our neuronal activity is unavoidable. However, the speed at which its deleterious yield is produced can be dampened by several precautions regarding libidinal and emotional urges. I would assume that is in relation to the libido. Keep conversation not related to lab work at a minimum. If you begin to suspect you are displaying attachments to your colleagues, contact me as soon as possible. If you think you like your coworkers, that could be bad. Ritual behavior. Ritual behavior with the sample, trading, bargaining, will result in dismissal from the project. The precise mechanism of the exchange of symbols and gifts required for a requested serious yield is not known, and even then, anecdotal accounts of successful are ineligible, end in violent death. Regarding growth cycles, every time Whiskers regenerates and leaves dormancy, it is to be logged as a new propagation. The sample's bodily existence cannot be ineligible, i.e. a part cannot be cut from the whole, so there can only be one living propagation. Propagations are to be terminated after 5 weeks. Any further development puts us at risk. Termination procedures will be posted and followed with extreme care. With all of that out of the way, I want to welcome you to the project. I look forward to working with you. Great, let's go in. Beyond the door in the room, the cage was hidden, concealed in another cloak of inward-facing mirrors. A hidden cage lined with mirrors, it is strange, almost poetic, the elaborate fantasy of self-reflection, concealment, captivity. At the cage, she finally cast her spell. But it was confusing, she confided at first. She took the magic doll, the magic glue, and the photo of her grandpa, and she combined them, and she wished very hard. I could only assume in this fantasy that next her wish would come true. In what child's story would it not? Articular human representation, generic human figure. A tangible symbol of intention and desire. She put Grandpa in the cage, assuming that was part of the ritual. She was not clear on how it worked. What precise instructions she could glean from her grandfather's magic book was complicated by her reading comprehension. She wished with all her heart, and then she told me she waited a while for something. Anything could happen. After that time, she began to cry. I cried really hard, she said. I wanted Grandpa to be back. I wanted my parents to stop being so mean. And it hurt me. It hurt me wish for Grandpa to come back, for my parents to be different. I could feel it through the walls, and it felt me through the air. I asked her what exactly she meant. She could only repeat what she said. By this time, lunch was almost over. I said goodbye to Adrienne, and she left to rejoin her class. I was left to consider our conversation. I began the storytelling strategy I have employed was not unfruitful, but I must probe deeper if I can. Although I can be sure of nothing I interpret, the impressions I get may begin to help me get an idea of the right questions to ask. Knowledge you acquired this week has given you access to certain topics or keywords you can discuss with Grandpa. You have gained the topic, Wish, which was a mediocre Disney film and not entirely without controversy. Let's just say. Consider discussing this when Grandpa emerges. Oh my god. You have also gained the following keyword. Shell. Week 2. I'm assuming these weeks are different conversations we have with the child. I met with Adrienne in order to address her emotional outbursts in the past few weeks. It is our second time meeting, and while it was standard practice to have multiple sessions with a troubled student, as I assemble a report for the counseling department, I could not help but think, as we sat down in my office, that Adrienne already seemed to show a remarkable change in self-esteem and confidence, and perhaps my and Miss Richardson's estimation of her as emotionally disturbed was erroneous. Disney film that felt like it was written by AI? Definitely. It had no soul, apparently. I've seen a bunch of reviews on it and I haven't actually seen the movie. I do not wish to. The paralyzing shyness and withdrawn attitude Adrienne possessed last week was not entirely diminished, but she seemed to hold herself differently this week. Oh my goodness, I'm drinking tea, and the caffeine is not hitting yet. However, this only lasted as long as our conversation pertained to initial introductory pleasantries. When I began once again asking about her parents, her feelings regarding her new school, and her new home, she quickly lost what new confidence she had gathered up and withdrew again into herself. So, once again, I partook in some collaborative make-believe, but this time collaborative make-believe? My god, we got her to play Dungeons and Dragons. Hell yeah. But this time I was aided by the fact that I had managed to do some research into Adrienne's grandfather, and I had some insight into what she might actually be finding in her basement. Now, this may be overstepping my bounds, as the school counseling caseworker, but this was all in the service of making Adrienne comfortable and happy in this learning environment. In any case, I was able to dig up information regarding the grandfather by inquiring at the university in town. Not that I make it a habit of sleuthing, but I had a suspicion the grandfather was a professor there, or at least some sort of researcher, due to the fact that the newly constructed laboratory on campus I drive by every day bears his name, in memorial. He was some sort of anthropologist or linguist, or neuroscientist. I did not have to dig that deep before the scope of his work became dizzying and I ran up against the limits of my undergraduate education. But back to the make-believe. What is your grandpa like? Is he a smart man? Not anymore, but I'm teaching him. So he's grown a good deal then? You have been feeding him well? Yeah, he's getting bigger, but he has a lot of room in his cage. He's still behind the bars? Yeah, well, he might be able to climb out eventually. There's this vent in the ceiling. Well, perhaps if he climbs out, I could meet him someday. Yeah, maybe. But he's not ready to leave. He can't take care of himself. I have to feed him, pick up after him. Oh, you store your food in your lunchbox? That's nice of you to share. He can almost talk. You can't speak with him? He doesn't have a mouth, sort of. But how do you feed him? He has a mouth on the outside, on his shell, or the stuff that is his skin. I'm a little confused. Maybe you can go through a typical day with your grandpa? Okay. I asked her to explain how exactly she goes about growing her grandpa, and Adrienne began another tale. According to Adrienne, in the week that had passed, much had changed in the basement. The thing's gone. Ooh, we got a lunchbox now. Your lunchbox is currently empty. The hairy thing that was here before is gone. Yeah, I can see that. Just see Grandpa first. Just see Grandpa first. Wake the Grandpa. It was scary at first, she said. The way he moved, the way the doll's skin covered him. I wanted to interject. This somehow seemed inappropriate, but I kept listening. When I look at him, she continued, when I think about him, he grows and moves. It's like he's growing for me. Who's growing bigger now? I asked. Yes, she said. Bigger every day. Uh-huh. It's kind of like that furry thing that was at the beginning. This begins the actual growing part of growing your grandpa. Beneath the doll's burlap skin, the follicles knit together what resembles a proper person, your grandpa. You are in charge of his cognitive development and diet until it is able to sustain itself. Currently, you are observing Grandpa. Please click the arrow back button below for a brief tutorial on your duties as caretaker. This is made of burlap and some kind of hairy appendages that reach through that skin. Here you can see a variety of options regarding growing your grandpa. Wow, this is a lot more in-depth than I thought it was. Highlighted in red are objectives related to feeding and teaching Grandpa. Important messages regarding Grandpa's recent activity will also appear here. You will need to find it food and learning material before you can move on to the next week. Some foods will make Grandpa happy, others merely content. Some food will make Grandpa disgusted to the point of nausea. Learning material is also scattered throughout the basement. Seek out vocabulary cards intending to help teach English and basic anthropoidic concept formation. The options highlighted in red are related to navigating around Grandpa's enclosure. The Go to Grandpa option will let you perform all actions directly relating to Grandpa: feeding, teaching, observing, etc. Accessing the study corner will let you go over any documents you pick up as the week goes by. It's a good idea to learn about the work of the people who last occupied this space. Accessing the kitchen corner will let you search for food in the cold refrigerator and prepare food for Grandpa if need be. Help button will replay this tutorial. The save game button will save your current progress. You can only have one save file at a time. Makes sense. So if you have save data, you'll be asked if it is okay to overwrite it. The exit game will take you back to the main menu. More buttons may or may not appear depending on your development of Grandpa, so watch out for them. One final note. Good, we're almost done. Take care to explore the basement at your leisure. However, due to the entropic nature of clutter and trash, different weeks may allow you to find things you had not previously discovered. Good luck! Save the game. Okay, so we need to feed Grandpa 2 acceptable foods. We need to teach Grandpa 2 words taught. Okay, and we're going to explore the basement. So, go to Grandpa. We're going to attempt to communicate. Let's observe it. You examine Grandpa, noting its movements, respiration, and general mood. Grandpa seems sort of sluggish and bored. You get the feeling it may be more content and readily cooperative once it is fed and taught a word or two. Alright, let's see if we can find some food. Search the upper fridge. Lettuce. Looks edible. Grandpa might like this. Lower fridge. Brown banana. Looks edible. Grandpa might like this. For the food. A banana. And, We need an unappealing item, which we don't have. Did I not? Maybe I don't need to cook lettuce. Oh, the magic book that I didn't read before. Okay. The impetus of this research was the recognition of a particular pattern in fragments of documents relating to magic and magico-religious practices. Numerous sources are drawn from the commentaries. That word threw me for a loop. Commentaries on laws related to banning of sorcery and necromancy, complications of folk charms relating to love spells, hierographs of saints and their encounters with devils. The list spans many centuries and a great distance, from the Levant of Khazar Pangarit to the border of the modern nation states of Russia and Kazakhstan today. From this paper trail rose the consistent account of a certain form of magic relating to the binding of demons to a sorcerer's will. A demon called the Heaven of Needles, or the Angel of Needles, is known to be kept best by shamanic keepers or wards who suffer from face blindness. And the scientific term for that. Whether by birth or through development caused like a stroke or head injury. It was known to be extremely effective but terribly dangerous, so much so that it became outlawed several times and was generally a popular scapegoat relating to unexpected death. This nexus of magico-religious meaning-making, sorcery regarding human-related desires, and the history of science of neurological disorders related to the physiform gyrus is where the subject of this dissertation will reside. I will outline further and then analyze the historical sources I mentioned previously. Then I will go into the neurology of mystic and magico-religious experiences. After that, I will detail an ongoing correspondence with a resident of the Ural Mountain region who is an expert folklorist and keeper of traditions. He claims to have passed down through his extended family for generations. In this TED Talk, Okay, so these are all the notes that I had from before. Educational posters. Hello. A set of procedures regarding disposal internment. 1. The researcher will seal off the enclosure bars ensuring minimal gas leakage during the later fumigating procedures, and then retrieve the burn barrel and place it near the enclosure. Allow at least 48 hours of time where the current growth cycle experiences no human-related stimuli. Do not enter the enclosure area nor any part of the basement. Ideally, you will not be in the grounds at all. After 48 hours, 2 researchers will enter the basement wearing their assigned mirror mask, mirror apron, and powered air purifying respirator. The researcher will use the vent system to fumigate the enclosure area, wait 30 minutes, and then use the fan system to ventilate the enclosure, keeping the fans running during phases 3 through 4. Re-enter the enclosure area wearing your assigned mirror masks and aprons. The organism may or may not be in complete dormancy. If it is not in full dormancy, be assured that its capacity to act against you will be greatly diminished. With your assigned power drills, quickly remove any enclosure bars needed to access the organism, and then, I thought it was telling you to just drill into the creature. Put them aside for later reinstallation. Put the organism into the burn barrel, incinerate the organism thoroughly, wait for any smoke to be properly cleared by the fan system. Step 5 is short. Like, entering the enclosure area and taking it down is, like, over twice the size of just burn the damn thing. Turn off the fans. One researcher will retrieve the nucleus from the ash and place it in the mirror box. The other researcher We'll sift through the ash and place any of the other substantial remains in the biohazard bin in the other room outside of the enclosure area. The bin is locked for safety purposes. The code is 323245. The researchers will fill out a termination form and leave it for Dr. Hart. I feel like... Oh, I can't even screen grab. Conversation target. Biohazard bin. Hello. Also, hi, Kitty. She's come to say hello. I picked something up over here and a document suddenly appeared over here. Curiouser and curiouser. All clean. The space will not be dirty again until next week. It was said to pass from one family of steppe people to another, but pressed on its ultimate origin, ineligible, somewhere to the south, boiled in a bowl covered in incantations, buried upside down by a graveyard, a common late antiquity demon trap. The keeper, an elderly man in failing health, was ready to expound on and about the dangers of the organism, but when I asked more pointed questions about the history of its acquisition, I was given curt responses that had a way of circling back to vague warnings. Cashews! Looks edible. Edible. Fantastic. File cabinet 2? You can definitely look at the vibes from this one. All clean. Only one thing. Teach Grandpa this word to read the notes of Pat's educators. Interesting. And cabinet 3. They want me to unbury everything every week from all of these. Seems like a good way to spend a bunch of time, but... I think this appears to be some kind of false bottom or something. You... I almost choked to death on my own spit. Hi, cat. You remove the taped down fabric to reveal the cabinet's wooden bottom. All clean. Note regarding cleanup procedures. To my colleagues, I don't mean to be overly severe in tone, but Dr. Hart's work is very important to the material we are working with is potentially very dangerous. I will be handing out a copy of this note as a reminder to everyone. I am not trying to single any particular person out. We all have misconceptions about the nature of this project from time to time. With that out of the way, here are some things to keep in mind. 1. The active growth must be thoroughly terminated via the correct procedures at the very least 4 weeks after dormancy is interrupted. Doesn't matter what you've done or haven't done regarding tests or procedures, how much anthropodic vacuum has been disrupted, we are not ready to go beyond 4 weeks at this point. A step-by-step guide to termination has been posted by the enclosure wall. Please, please, please do not place the educational posters over this posting. Do not disrupt the anthropodic vacuum without Dr. Hart's prior consultation and approval. In case of any emergency where the vacuum is disrupted, put on your equipment and begin the lockdown procedure. Make an extensive note of when and how the breach occurred. If you find the habitat empty, page Dr. Hart immediately, but do not attempt to speak with anyone else. This thing can get very smart, and I'm sure you're all well aware of the stories we heard from our acquisition trip. The greatest caution should be used when dealing with a potential aggressive mimicry scenario. Please seek me out if you have any more questions. Huh. So it can pretend to be people. Well, that would explain why there's such an emphasis on not seeing it for a while and for, like having mirrored equipment so that it can't see you. So if they let it live long enough without purging, it becomes too powerful and morphs to match the weaknesses of the person working with it. Sounds like it. Either I was getting vibes that it might become them, but becoming things that would be able to work on them also makes sense. As like a feeding habit. Nope. Should have read that. Hello. Can't use that yet. Okay, so... Research participants, please take note. Each growth from a cycle does not require a shell, but you may find the sample will often try and seize on something somewhat flexible it can grow into. Along with the serious yield it must generate, or else it will move from one shell to the next as it outgrows them. In the small amount of time I have spent with it in preparation, I have noticed this tends towards human forms. However, we should keep a tight lid on the anthropodic seal in order to be cautious before we begin to experiment with exposing it long-term to anthropoid stimuli. I'm assuming the shell is the thing that it's turning into? The connection to libidinous reactions and such means it's feeding off their emotions and desires, and the kid is growing it with a wish. Grandpa. Administrator will record details on opposite side. Well, apparently I have to talk to it. Feed, Grandpa. Would you like to view the tutorial before you start? You will not be prompted again. Sure. This brief tutorial will go over the basics of feeding, Grandpa. Via induction of your unprotected insula, Grandpa has stimulated the production of tooth enamel to mimic a human mouth. It will need to be fed through this in order to properly learn and grow. First, you will need to select an item from the lunchbox, and the lunchbox in the bottom right corner. The contents of the lunchbox will be displayed. Nice food, bad food. Select an item from the lunchbox. Doing so will fill your hand with the item. Note that any food can be put back into the lunchbox by clicking on the lunchbox with a full hand. Ooh. Before Grandpa can be fed, it must judge the food by smell. Hover your hand above Grandpa's olfactory bulbs. If Grandpa is pleased, it will allow you to feed it. Most foods Grandpa will accept. However, getting Grandpa to consume other things requires some culinary deception. When Grandpa is willing to be fed, hover your hand over its mouth and click. Grandpa will then consume the food. Good luck on feeding Grandpa. You approach the small window set in the jail bars. Look on Grandpa. If Grandpa's decisive by the smell, full of food. Where are the nostrils? The meal appears to have been sufficient. Alright, indifferent to the smell, but we'll accept this meal. Meal appears to have been sufficient. Alright, you step away from the window set in the bars. Grandpa grunts in appreciation and locomotes towards its favorite corner. Okay, let's try and teach Grandpa. Would you like to view the tutorial? Sure. This brief tutorial will go over the teaching Grandpa pronunciation and vocalization. Oh, we actually do have to teach it. The vocabulary word you picked will appear in the top left corner, and the bottom right corner will be a pentagon, which is divided up into 8 sections. A section of the pentagon will be highlighted briefly. A notification sound will play, and soon another section will be highlighted. You will control a small round icon that sits above the pentagon using your mouse. The ball is constrained to the limits of the pentagon. The goal is to keep your icon over the highlighted area and move it as the area changes sections around the pentagon. When you hold the left click above the correct highlight area, the icon will start to vibrate along with the stimulated vocal cords, and the current letter of your word will begin to turn red. Keep holding over the highlighted section and adjust your icon as it changes its place. Soon the letter will become fully red. After every letter becomes red, Grandpa will proudly pronounce the word to you, and it will be considered learned. Teaching Grandpa these words will accelerate its cognitive development and lead to further breakthroughs in general intelligence. You approach the window, set in the jail bars, yada yada yada. Hold down the mouse button if you wish to end the session early. Okay, no, I don't. I see. I'm supposed to be clicking the mouse button down. Well, that wasn't so bad. Deep within Grandpa, strange membranes communicate confidently. Grandpa. Having completed the lesson, you will take a look at the back of the vocabulary module card, and the notes were written by administrators of the past. Grandpa. Part of vocabulary and the vocalization module E81 family. General pronunciation comments. Usual trouble with articulation. Voice thin, raspy, possibly underdeveloped lyrics. Module comments. We have done several sessions of what we're calling familial relation simulation, and a co-researcher sit in chairs opposite the enclosure. We are wearing our usual masks, and we begin to act out a scene, mostly through improvisation that might roughly resemble a kitchen table conversation between an immediate family. Repeated trials would reveal, although our simulated conversation was purposefully vague and unspecific regarding persons and identities, we would only address each other as brother, father, sister, etc., etc. It would soon become apparent that the encoded information and associations were unconsciously drawn upon when hearing and speaking these words, as we picked up on by Whiskers and its psi-type field of reception interpretation of brain-mind events size somatic content. Okay. My co-researcher William noticed this in a simulation where Whiskers was given a role as a sister, he as a brother, I was the father. Whiskers began responding to certain prompts with unusual specificity, as well as a general pattern of timbre of speech that continued with usual consistency. As soon as the simulation ended and we left the enclosure area, Willem let me know that Whiskers was almost certainly drawing from encoded memories of his late sister, mapping out exactly what regions and centers of neural activity are intercepted by the psi-type field will take extensive neuroimaging that we do not have at the site. Currently, we only have less precise, portable equipment. However, our experiences so far are eerily in line with folk knowledge and folk explanations regarding the being's access to desires, and we can begin to infer it has access to certain portions of the limbic system and the ventral temporal cortex. You step away from the bars and store the module card at the document table. Can I teach Grandpa something else? No. Could have sworn I had more notes to teach. Oh, I photosensitive. Probably shouldn't be messing with that. I have a banana. I don't have anything to feed with it. Save the game. We did something. No. Search there. Search there. Hmm. We examine Grandpa, noting its movements, respiration, and general mood. Seems sort of sluggish and bored. You get the feeling it may be more content and really cooperative once fed and taught a word or two. Okay. There were 2 words that I learned before the thing started that it told me about, but I'm not seeing those anywhere. Ah, here's the room. Alright. Slouching under the weight and rot and refuse. That's a lot of garbage. Blueberries, good, good. It's a lot like cleaning my own room. There's a lot of random paper that just accumulates somewhere, and I have no idea where it comes from. This cabinet seems to be made out of baby faces. Before we began, he had us all cover our faces completely. An earthenware pot was illegible, and on the inside, as we stole brief glances at it, we could see the interior was inlaid with mirrors, and the ineligible gave it small pieces of dough, spoiled food, chicken feed, ineligible, keeping it content. The keeper gestured towards the small bag where the food composted and told us to be careful not to feed it any meat. I asked if the rotting food was enough to sustain it, how it might get nutrients from any of this. The keeper regarded me seriously and said it did not matter what it was fed. The act of feeding itself was what mattered. The act of feeding flesh is another act, however. He then gave me another series of grave warnings regarding not keeping any animal-derived foods near where it might be keeping it. Ineligible. Safe tea. Okay, well that's clearly a lock that I don't have access to the key of. Something about that painting looks strange. Let's search the painting. Nailed it. A folder of radiographic images. Alright, let's search the trash pile. More trash to clean. We are cleaning trash. Just like my life. Trash, trash, trash. Hey look, a thing. That beef jerky? Let's feed Grandpa beef jerky. Fiberglass insulation. It isn't really food. Grandpa might eat it, however. Warning to everybody. Probably don't feed people fiberglass. That's not good. Fiberglass is, as the name suggests, just made out of glass. That'll tear your stuff up. All clean. Little paper doll. Useful in construction of magic symbols. Shouldn't just leave that around. Moisture smells particularly strong. It was a piece of paper. What are you talking about? Nice. Well, we found like a brown banana and some blueberries and some nuts, so... Corroded battery. It isn't really food. Grandpa might eat it, however. Stick that in the banana and feed it to him. Linguistics module. Hello. There. All clean. Something appears to be growing from the wall. You take a closer look. Ah, that's new. A pulsating sac. The sliding membrane that its skin seems to contain something. Might be able to be opened with a blade. I don't see it in the overworld, but I'll believe you that it's there. Dark as a shadowy corner unnerves you can explore without a form of light. Okay. So... we had... the hello card, so I can teach him that. You approach the windows. Hello. Deep within Grandpa, strange membranes ornate confidently. Hello. Having completed a lesson, you take a look at the back of the vocabulary module card and the notes were written by administrators in the past. Nice sack, bro. Hey, thanks. I work out. General pronunciation comments. Sloppy articulation. We are already encountering some difficulty as Whisker's subjectivity is so much more determined by a diverse set of dynamic array of influences. It attempts to mimic the thoughts and desires it passively intercepts, and these imitations go on to structure the basis of its identity. Only later in Whisker's growth cycle does it begin to form an identity, or identities, that are coherent and capable of resembling a sane, rational human being when engaged in conversation. One must imagine how hard it would be to converse with somebody who is not yet oriented in one particular way towards who or how they are, because they might have 20 different honest answers to those questions, all of them mixed and muddled together. Because of this, we have started with the basics of conversation: greetings, partings, identifying one another, forming questions, etc., etc. It is fortunate Whisker's current growth, number 19, has developed a mostly accurate human mouth simulation. Hello was a bit of a challenge in the previous growth, as it failed to develop an adequate organ to act as a human tongue. Okay, that implies you have a sack routine. You don't have to work out your sack directly to get any benefits from it. All right. I think we've explored the basement, so let's try and attempt to communicate. Accedes to your request. It approaches the bars and begins to unknit its skin. The inner Grandpa, though it is not fully formed, is revealed. It may be fruitful to speak with it, if it can respond. Okay. So that's it. Great deal of effort. Grandpa gurgles fragmented thoughts through its ill-formed lips. Rover, will father. New lives out of the air. The dark spiny filaments that make up the majority of Grandpa's body begin to oscillate rapidly. The air behind your eyes, I can taste it. Not creepy at all. Ask about the shell. A great deal of effort gruels fragmented thoughts through its ill-formed lips. Skin my body, all human skin around me. Give more. Grow more to fit. Ask about the biohazard bin. With a great deal of effort, gurgles fragmented thought area. However, it fails to produce more than a wet and frustrated sputtering noise. It doesn't have the words for that. Bye-bye. Silently ascends back into its shell. Appears content and ready to cooperate. Well, I think that is save, and then we'll end the week. I think we've done everything that we have access to. We got a lot. Knowledge you acquired this week has given you access to a new conversation topic to discuss with Grandpa. Language. Okay, so it was topics and not words to teach. That's fine. Mrs. Richards approached me the other day in order to remark on Adrienne's development. She noted how much more at ease she appears when called upon in class or when asked to participate in group exercises. I told her I had seen this change happening as well, and that, as much as I would like to take credit for it, I can only guess dimly at what might be reshaping her attitude. Mrs. Richards posited that it was perhaps Adrienne's family moving into their grandfather's property that caused the change. It apparently is out of the country, in a wooden area, full of wide open space and far from the bustle and noise of the city. Yeah, maybe she was just overstimulated, surrounded by people and action. The grandfather, Mr. Jacob Hart, has jointly purchased the land with the university he was employed with and began constructing what he was intending to be a satellite campus for a burgeoning psychological anthropology program he had a hand in establishing. Only one building ever ended up being constructed after Dr. Hart died in a car accident when driving back from the property one day. Eerily, at almost the exact same time, a grad student who was assigned Dr. Hart on some sort of project at the property vanished without a trace. The property sat in disuse for years as it was tied up in legal battles between Dr. Hart's next of kin, the university, and the vanished grad student's family. Why did they have a claim to it? And the other students Dr. Hart was working with. Eventually, the case was settled out of court. Only recently did the property fall into the possession of Adrienne's mother. Obviously, I was not going to relay this whole tragic story to Adrienne, who, for all I know, believes her grandfather is still to be living in the basement of his home. Besides, I thought she might already know of this. Perhaps the elaborate story she was constructing was her own way of escaping the morbid details of her life, or perhaps lives, cut short by the crude force of fate and the cynical adults who squabbled in the aftermath. I determined perhaps the storytelling she was and continues to engage in should be encouraged by me, at least not in the way I went about it before, where I made active inquiries into her strange fantasy of a semi-sentient ball of skin. When I saw Adrienne, I did not bring up her grandpa or ask any questions about his growth. Adrienne could not stop talking about it, however. I had no choice but to weather her bizarre and enthusiastic effusions about her new best friend. Adrienne, maybe we can talk about something else. I'm not sure I'm following you exactly. He's gotten so big, he has so many whiskers that come out, and I can see them move around when I think about him. I'm not sure what you mean. I'm so happy Grandpa's back. He's so much cooler than Mom and Dad. Once again, for what it's worth, I have to put down the story she told me as best as I could. Adrienne once again told me about growing her grandpa. Roll credits. Everything here is before he's gone. Trash. New week, new stuff to find scattered about the basement. Kiwi. Sweet. Nothing new with the bulbous growth. That's good. We wouldn't want it growing anything that we weren't anticipating. I'm not quite... I could never do those games where you had to precision click on stuff to play the game. I don't know what that kind of game is called. where you do like the drawing and touching and all that stuff to the beats. I'm not quite precise enough for it. Maybe I could have got good at it, but it seems to be beyond me now. Gimme. Whatever that is. That was the cabinet. Let's check the trash pile. Nothing on the image. Osu? Yeah. Sounds familiar. I am bad at it. Much easier to play with a tablet and a pen. Yeah, but it's... You could use it... A potato. You could use it to, get better at point and click stuff. I've seen people use it as training. So this game seems to be about 50% reading and 50% picking trash up off the ground. Indecision. No, I've already looked at my bulbous growth today. Is it the same bulbous growth? Oh, there's a bulbous growth over here too. Oh, there's just multiple bulbous growths. Well, it's good to have 2 bulbous growths, I suppose. Feed Grandpa 3 acceptable foods. Teach 2 words. I think that we can. Do banana and fiberglass. Let's get him to eat the fiberglass. I want to see if that's feed. Grandpa quickly slides over. Let's see. I'm able to detect the unappealing item. Although quickly consumed, the meal says to cause some indigestion. Oh no. And suddenly Grandma empties his stomach onto the floor. Oh no. Bond pulled together in front of the cage. Oh no. I don't know if that counts though. Hang on. Makes plaintive whine, clearly disappointed at the lack of sustenance. Dejectedly locomotes back to its favorite corner. Nope. Didn't take. Maybe if we conceal the battery in the potato. That seems like it'll probably work. It seems indifferent to a lot of different foods. Grandpa's more discerning than usual. Oh, it likes blueberries. Okay, so it's refusing that food. Examine its stomach contents since it just vomited. Where is that? Ah, there we go. Hello. Still somewhat wet. Gross. Try the safe's key that you found, and it pops open. Photo of your mother as a young woman. The condition of this face kicks off a cascade of emotion and meaning deep within your psyche. I can't grab this. There's other stuff here. Other stuff. Okay. I wonder, because I didn't manage to feed it that one thing, can I not actually give it... Okay, still need something sharp. Can I not feed it a third thing? Because it's refusing to eat the battery for some reason. Which might be bad. Ah, right. I forgot that the fridge exists. Okay. We're good. Oops. Have a strawberry. The meal appears to have been sufficient. Grunts in appreciation and locomotes towards his favorite corner. Okay, let's teach it something. Let's teach it about life. Deep within Grandpa, strange membranes phonate confidently. Life. Having completed the lesson, you take a look at the back of the vocabulary module card, and the notes are written by administrators of the past. At week 3 of growth, over 24. Oh. I thought they only went through a couple of them. They've gone through 24 of these things? We're to recall some information from a previous growth cycle. We cannot be sure what this was really, if this is really the case. For all we know, what we intercepted is it recollecting this information was really in drawing semantic content from one of our recollections of it and redeploying it with or without rationality or contextualization. I know pretty much all of those words, but in that order as one run-on sentence, that is a doozy. For the sake of our safety and for the sake of scientific inquiry, we are attempting to draw out from Whiskers whether it somehow retains knowledge from previous cycles in its mortophalic nucleus. We did not think it was possible the nucleus, though complex and incredible in its regenerative abilities, was capable of this, and the nerve network that grew from it made up the base of Whiskers' mind. And so we are now attempting to ask Whiskers, as best we can, if it has ever died, or what it might remember if it did. Interesting. Ah yes, the simple concept of indecision. Let's teach it the word indecision on its second week of life. Well, he's doing great so far. Very much seems like a week 3 word, not a week 2 word. I don't even know a word the child should know, honestly. Indecision. Having completed the lesson, you take a look back at the vocabulary module, yada yada yada. Indecision, part of vocabulary and vocalization, manual F23, theory of mind, general pronunciation, comments, articulation problems, possible trouble with Diphthongs. Question mark. We are introducing the latest growth of whiskers to more subtle social cues and testing its ability to judge mental states in participants in conversation. The semantic contents that flows to whiskers via its psi field is still becoming muddled and slipped without distinction into conversation, although our intention of instilling it with solid theory of mind will perhaps make it begin to understand that we do not know what it knows or what we are, without our control, sending to it. One would think a theory of mind seems to develop as part of its maturation process. Sorry again. This tea ain't shit. In order to hunt sapient beings, it must be able to deceive them. In order to deceive, it must be able to make certain metacognitive judgments. For example, if their deception appears to be working, or how one ought to be deceived. We may never see it develop a theory of mind anytime soon, as Dr. Hart has disallowed a cycle of whiskers growth to live into the beginnings of maturity. Makes sense. We don't really want to teach it how to go to the basement. Grandpa recently emptied its stomach. I don't think there's any new documents. Hello, Mom. FYI, a diphthong is a multi-vowel sound like oi. Okay. Save the game. I think we found everything for this week, so we can just go on to the next week. Weekly summary. Food acquired: kiwi, potato, concealed insulation, concealed battery, pear, and strawberry. Required life, indecision, mom. Significantly less found this time than previous week. Oh, we were in week 4. Never mind. Yeah, no, indecision is totally an acceptable week. So they are saying it was hard to get it to use any useful words because it couldn't say stuff like boy or our. Boy. Oh man, that just triggered me because this morning was the secret layer for the PlayStation stuff. So Kratos is getting 2 cards for Magic the Gathering, and I don't think that they're coming to Arena, but God, I wish that they were. The time I have to spend compiling an evaluation on Adrienne is almost up, and I still can't say what to make of her changes in mood. It is, of course, the case that children of Adrienne's age are nowhere near finished learning and growing. I may have to simply be happy that Adrienne was able to improve her attitude. However, the odd and occasionally grotesque stories she continues to bring up to me still strike me as meaningful. How has your week been, Adrienne? Grandpa's almost ready. He's almost finished. Oh, sort of. Ah. He's almost as big as his shell now. He has a face, he can talk pretty well, and almost has legs. I see. As before, I have to put down the story she told me as best as she could. I forgot to have a conversation with Grandpa. Dang it. Once again, Adrienne told me about growing her grandpa. A bar of soap isn't really food. Might eat it. I don't know what I could possibly shove that into. Doing okay? You gotta check your bulbous growths every once in a while. Generally in the shower is fine. Meaning. Okay, we're getting into some deep concepts now. The meaning of stuff and words. What is the meaning of life? Is it to be a grandfather grown in a cage? Hey look, another bulbous growth. Mushroom. Something about Deep Rock Galactic just got triggered in me. Gosh, there's a lot of bulbous growths going on up in here. That's 3. That's an unusual number of bulbous growths. Concerning. Did I check this trash pile? Yes, I did. Has appeared. A jackfruit has appeared. I don't know if I've ever had jackfruit before. Let's see. Do we still have the concealed battery? Yeah, we'll use that today. See if he can take it. I guess the educational posters don't regenerate. I might not have searched this yesterday either. There doesn't appear to be anything in here. Oh, right, the radiographic images. Intriguing results with regard to the mimic hypothesis. A participant entered a sealed chamber adjacent to Whiskers, growth cycle 21, which had been freed from the anthropomorphic vacuum, constructed quite economically from plastic and broken mirrors. The first propagand's original earthware vacuum was shattered during the move-in. Between the two, there was a semi-opaque glass panel that allowed observation both ways. The human participant was asked to think of someone in a popular consciousness, fictional or otherwise, and cognate on their image, personality, face if possible, voice if possible, etc. Our participant chose Jesus of Nazareth, and with weekly repeated exposure to the participant's imaging, propagation number 21 began forming what resembled an anthropoid Nazarene in the fold of its spines. Previous humanoid oriented tests have always bore out the result that Whiskers could form an anthropoid team member, be it me or Dr. Hart or Gerald, and we assumed it was merely mimicking one of us. Dr. Hart was always contended that the Desirous yield, or the anthropoid reproduction Whiskers creates when in contact with human beings, has always been based on the conception and relation to the person through someone else. With this framework, the Desirous yield is not actually a replica of the person, or if it is only a replica of the fiction of a person generated in the mind of another. The Desirous yield is not Jesus Christ, but the participant's image of Jesus assembled from their religious upbringing, religious artwork, depictions of in popular culture, etc. This radiograph was taken right before the destruction of the growth cycle, while Whiskers was rendered unconscious via fumigation. It seems like with every successive propagation, the stem cells in the organism work a little faster. But I'm not paranoid. It's technically deathless, yes, but we're burning up whatever knowledge is gained when we incinerate it. I don't believe in magic just yet.
We have taken to calling it whiskers, though of course some have interpreted this as hair or needles or queers, but whiskers is more accurate, as the needles are really more like supersensory follicles or spines. The nerve nets distributed throughout the morphology of these spines resemble those of genus Hydra, but have myelin sheaths that are fundamentally the same as vertebrae, as we can see in the way each spine is laden with dense optical arrangements similar to compound eyes. The Hydra connection is assuredly worth investigating with regard to the organism's capacity for regeneration and anecdotal deathlessness. It certainly is a robust enough creature to inspire marvel, though it is not untinged with fear. Exposure to mammalian forms, part of a series of zoomorphic influences, led to further understanding of the propagation's ability to simulate the somatic stem cells that constitute fully developed animals. I write simulate in the previous statement because examining the tissue of each propagation leads me to believe its amazing capacity for accelerated growth of vastly different forms comes from its cell-level mutability. And yet, at no time does it function as the thing it becomes, except in the sense that it mimics it. That is to say, when Whiskers is removed from dormancy and replicates a rabbit's morphology, it is not seeming from the rabbit's eyes, nor smelling from the rabbit's nose, but pretending that it does, and doing a very good job of it. Inspired Marvel, but DC wasn't interested. It's unfortunate. Could have had an actual good cinematic universe on our hands if they had functional mimics in it. I mean, that's of course what the Secret Wars TV show did. It was, reported to be excellent, and nobody hated the entire thing, and every single episode was awful. Right? This radiograph was taken at or around growth cycle number 4. The strange thing about it was that the subject of the image was found nowhere near the enclosure. It's almost like a piece of Whiskers fell off and scurried into the corner. I feel like we've learned a lot since then, but at the time I remember speaking about the morphology being weird, not really even resembling an extant zoomorphic structure, besides maybe a cuttlefish. Then I happened to open the thing up. Inside were all these little dead amoeba-like things, but they all sort of looked like they had faces. Faces that were just barely there. After I took the radiograph, gathered it up, and went to throw it in the biohazard bin. As I walked by the bars of the enclosure, I could hear Whiskers suddenly going wild, flopping around and grunting excitedly. Could it have smelled the cuttlefish thing? Could it eat its own production? I guess it's technically flesh. This is beyond the scope of the project, but it could be that without the stimulus of an active brain, or more specifically, a healthy and active brain capable of face recognition and theory of mind, Whiskers begins to pull whatever it can from the limited data available to it. Again, this is not our focus at this time, but I left a note for Dr. Hart just in case he wanted to take a look. Is this a bulbous growth? Okay. Okay. Oh, hi. You're, not quite looking like a giant cylindrical bag made out of burlap anymore. Examine Grandpa, noting its movements, respiration, and general mood. Grandpa seems fatigued and almost anemic. Some of its spines appear brittle. Perhaps it would be more crop if it fed an iron-rich meal like meat. Let's see if it'll just straight up be bar soap. Grimaces at the sterile smell. I guess not. Give it a jackfruit. And now a battery. Unable to detect the unappealing item. Yum, yum, yum.
quickly consumed. The meal seems to be causing some indigestion. These are different to the smell, but would accept this as a meal. Still need to feed it another thing. Hello? Where's it getting these things? Keep feeding him concealed items whenever you can so you'll vomit up more quietism. Okay. Well, in that case... Hey, buddy. You're a lot closer than I would have assumed. Unable to detect the unappealing item. Hey, fantastic. Mushroom. An older model flashlight. Hey, nice. Those should be good for cutting bulbous growths. It was saying you needed something sharp. Most likely. We will teach him the meaning of meaning. Meaning. Having completed a lesson, you take a look back at the vocabulary module card. Meaning. Part of vocabulary J11, metacognition, higher thought. General pronunciation comments, none. We further delve into abstraction with Whiskers, particularly, or perhaps for the most part, for the purposes of determining the origin of its recollections that precede its death. Dr. Hart has begun to theorize that in the process of death, the structure of Whiskers is compressed back into the morpholatic nucleus, and then later, upon reestablishing the nerve netting that is laced through its spines, it's slowly reassembled. Ah, cat, what are you doing? I don't know if you heard that, but she definitely bumped into the microphone. Slowly reassembled and redeployed as needed. Something, something, something. Nerve nettings laced through its spines. Okay. I do not think this is the case, for I can plainly see that for growth cycles in which Whiskers is not receiving our pronunciation of vocabulary lessons, that its capacity general for comprehending its environment is greatly diminished, and in the simulated conversations we carry out, Whiskers struggles greatly or else does not participate. In any case, we will press on with our lessons and heed Dr. Hart's caution regarding terminating the growth cycle before Whiskers' allotted growth time passes, or if it appears to be becoming just a little too competent at appearing human. Maybe it's bad that it's like week 4 or 5 and we usually terminate these things at week 4 and presumably we're going to keep going. We're going to teach it the word symbol. There appears to be nothing written here, or if it was thoroughly erased. Attempt to communicate. No response. Ah.
Jerk. Maybe I couldn't have done it last time. Let's see. We've done the kitchen. So now we should be able to... You carefully make an incision into the growth with your scissors. It is now possible to take a look inside. Well, let me take a look inside. In the oily cavity, a powerful smell of rot arises, and many small, intricate beings lay motionless and dead. However, you just barely hear the near-silent slithering of something, or maybe it's just your imagination. Squelching noises. Ah, that appears to be moving, doesn't it? I'm concerned that now we will have the option to feed it flesh, and it definitely said not to do that. Anthropoid Remnant 3! What happened to the first two? A self-sufficient animal form knit together from years of ambient thoughts left to crawl around the basement. Grandpa may enjoy the flesh. We were definitely told not to do that. Ink rate is fetal. Okay. In a conversation topic, little friends. Alright. Check that. Check that. There should be another bulbous growth here. Hang on. No. 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 There was a button to change, I thought, where the trash can was. Maybe I'm mistaken. Oh, look, another flesh creature. Anthropoid Remnant number 2. One, two, three to move trash can. Ah, okay. I thought it was F1, F2, F3, but that was clearly wrong. Hello, bulbous growth. Wonder what's in here. Could it possibly be the flesh creature? Yeah, that's much easier to get to. Come on, flesh creature number 1. Where are you? There you are, buddy. Ooh, a free waste bin. Oh, shoot. Okay, we're gonna have to go through our stuff. Wait. Bookshelf. Hello. A classic of alchemy. Of the three venture of three prudent when dealing with devils seen or unseen. The splendors and terrors of God's creations inhabit the world upon of both seen and unseen, and just as one will not grapple with a lion, lest they be a fool, one will not approach a being of the mind or ether without foreknowledge thereof. There are beings with no form hiding between towering columns of air, and only appearing by slipping into the heart or mind of evil and unclean men. But still, there are more beings of which straddle the realm between the seen and unseen, creatures feeling, though the air, to see the heart or mind of men. It is only by God's grace that his angels and servants crushing these beings under heel that a magician might compel them to the magician's will, and so a magician must be perfectly clear and unerring in intent and ritual granted to us by God, or else the devils, seen or unseen, will devour them, that being their nature. On the nourishing of devils of a particular type. Certain devils of a particular type are nourished by the element of fire. others by attention and prayer given by their idols, still others by stranger and more obscure means. By God's grace, the requirements for nourishing a devil as part of a contract only requires a token of these givings, that is a symbol. Unclean men are a vulnerability. See, that's why you have to take care of your sacks. Remember to wash your sacks. Like every time, there's no reason to not wash your sack. If a devil hungers after flesh and would strip man to his bones in his devouring, the devil's hunger and nature which thirst for flesh can be held in abeyance of the ritual act of giving blood in thy only a few drops. However, the contract must be completed in full, for if the magician errs and does not provide in the devil intrusion and guidance, the devil, once abjured to do no harm upon the magician, will return to its devouring nature. Another paper doll! And, yeah, I think that's it. Shoot. What was the code to the waste bin? I've already checked in here. Yeah. Have I checked in the trash pile yet? Apparently. Okay. So one of the documents had a code on it. No educational posters. Shoot. Orientation note. I want to say it would have been an orientation note. I knew I should have written down that code. Termination procedure. Okay, let me write this down. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Three, 2, 3, 2, 4, 5. Okay. Two, 3, 2, 4. The lid unlocks, and with some effort, you move the heavy lid off the bin. Photo of your father as a young man. Looks kind of like Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah. Question. Yup. We can create representations of all of our family. Sweet. Let's see. So, have we prepared all the food that is possible for this week? Yeah. Let's see. Do we talk to Grandpa? No response. Let's give it the mom doll. Doesn't appear to be interested at the moment. Doesn't appear to be interested at the moment. Okay. Grandpa seems fatigued and almost anemic. Most of its spines appear brittle. Perhaps it would be more cooperative if fed an iron-rich meal like meat. I guess we could try and feed it one of the things. Enticed by the smell. Excited by the flesh smell. Give the flesh. Feed. Meal appears to have been particularly well received. Offering a flesh stirs something within Grandpa. From within the folds of his body, a wiry, proboscis-like appendage begins to emerge. Maybe worth taking a look at this after the feeding. Knowledge you've recently acquired has given you access to a new conversation topic. Proboscis. Well, now I'm going to see if it wants to talk. Grunts and appreciation. One digestible food. We're giving it 4 things. It better be willing to talk now. That message has been held for review. Sure. Say what you want to say. The inner grandpa, though still not fully formed, is revealed. Yeah, we forgot to do this on one day. Why has he got glasses? Let's ask him about the biohazard bin. When did we give it glasses? Ah, you're asking about the medical waste bin? I believe it's locked up. I heard them punch in the code many times as they placed part of the burnt up dying self into the bin. So it can remember its previous lives. They often forgot what the code was and had to go check on the wall where they were always taping up sheets upon sheets of information. So much so that the new papers would cover the old. What do you think could find there? Well, perhaps something they did throw trash inside from time to time, bits of paper and so forth. I remember seeing a man who looked quite like me. His daughter had given him a photo of her new boyfriend. He threw it into the bin in disgust and joked with one of the colleagues. It may still be in there for all I know. It is! Why are you telling me all this? Clears his throat before gently responding in a lucid, well-projected voice. Ah, you're asking about language. Well, the more you taught me, the more I was able to learn myself by hearing what you are thinking and saying. A week ago, I could speak a little bit, but it was less of what you imagined me to be and not quite the talker I am at the moment. Yeah, I forgot about that last week, my bad. Part of what I am saying is, of course, made up of what you expect me to say. I think I am very comfortable being open and honest with you because I am your grandpa, and I love you, and certainly that makes us part of what I am. However, there's a part of me deeper down, the thing that created me maybe, that undying nucleus. It is answering for me as well, and is unaffected by whoever might shape what I become with their thoughts. Ask about the little friends. Loudly clears his throat before gently responding in a lucid, well-projecting voice. Ah, you're asking about my little friends. Well, yes, they come from me. They grew around me in pockets of flesh and protoplasm. Think about them like dreams, maybe. I'll explain. Have you ever had a dream that was sort of like a bunch of people, places, and events you experienced, all mixed together and jumbled up? It's a sorting through and disposing of the refuse of the mind. My little friends are like that. Refuse. And in ridding myself of them, I'm casting off the excess material I did not use in developing life forms. Anyone who comes close to me, well, they are my eyes, nose, and skin. Their thoughts become mine and shape what I make. However, when I was alone for so long, I didn't have a lot of people near me. What you were thinking and expecting of me is shaping what I'm saying, how I'm saying it. Do you understand? And so, because I did not have enough input in my surroundings in order to put the material to use, the material falls off my body, crawls away, and usually dies. I am able to make most of my material when someone is looking right at me, projecting who I will be, like you are now. What you were thinking and expecting of me is shaping what I am saying, how I'm saying it. Do you understand? Ask about his proboscis. Grandpa loudly clears his throat before gently responding in a lucid, well-projecting. Oh, my proboscis. Well, let's talk about. This is a conversation I thought I'd have with you later in life, but when a grandpa and a grandma love each other very much. It is just a little tube that I keep to help me feed on blood. You could say it is my real mouth, but it's not really a mouth. It appears because you fed me flesh. One of those little friends you found, I think. You feeding me flesh was a symbol, a proposition, if you will, that you wanted to hold up your end of the bargain with regards to your wish. If someone is willing to hold up their end of the bargain and let me feed on them with my proboscis, then they can move on to the next step of the agreement, providing me symbolic instructions. I hope that helps clears things up. Oh, you have another question? Do I like the blood? Well, my whiskers, I believe they like blood. And the flesh. It's strange. They are me, and yet they are now me. I am bound to them. They control me, and technically, yes, they did make me. However, you are the one who really grew me. In some ways, those whiskers, they are me, or a part of myself, that I am, or I am part of it. That part is much more animal-like.
Whatever might happen, know that I will always love you, and because it controls me, I might not be able to act how I would like, even if I do love you. Well, that's concerning. Goodbye. I'm going to look at his proboscis now. Motion of Grandpa to approach and point to the thin protuberance. Grandpa silently ambles towards the bars and fully extends it towards you. A minuscule needle extends from the tip. There appears to be one more thing you must give, if only for the sake of propriety. Glue. No. Drink of my blood. Grandpa has appreciated your blood offering. It will retain a symbol or totem from you now, although only once per offering. As the blood-fed proboscis retracts away into the folds of the fabric, you step away from the bars. Grandpa made me touch his proboscis. I'm going to give it the mother doll. Grandpa's spines quickly reach out and envelop the doll before drawing back. The doll quickly vanishes within the folds of Grandpa's skin. Constructing and then offer you mother's image to Grandma, symbolically seated by blood, instills you in a concrete sense of completion. Grandpa gives a soft, affirmating grunt as it senses deep within your mind the ritual transformation of your desire. Although Grandpa must receive both a mother and father totem before the fulfillment of your wish is assured. Well, here's a father doll. He's not interested in the moment. Can I feed him another piece of meat? Would he then be interested? The ritual must be completed. Blood of my blood, flesh of my flesh. Yada yada yada. This is the exact same thing as before. I want to see both a mother and father totem. Knowledge you recently acquired has given you access to a new conversation topic. Completed contract. Grandpa appears content and ready to cooperate. Well, as far as I know, I think that's everything. We fed him a bunch. We taught him some words. Let's overwrite. I'll give him the other one, but I think we need to feed him tomorrow. Yeah, what happened to this thing? Been through all this nonsense. I think once again we are ready to move on to the next week. Week 5. They always terminated it before week 5, so this is going to be new territory for the anthropomorphoids. I met with Adrienne one final time in order to see if I could not reach some sort of resolution regarding her emotional trouble. In these past few weeks, according to the reports of her teachers and peers, she has shown a remarkable transformation in conduct. I would also add my voice to this consensus. It seems as if, in our time together, much has changed for the better. I'm not suggesting our meetings were the sole source of her sea change. I don't recognize that turn of phrase. I think something has happened in her home life that has reoriented Adrienne completely. It seems to suggest as such, at least in her usually esoteric way when we last spoke. Something tells me something may have changed with Grandpa. Yes, well, something did change. I will write down her words verbatim here.
I went down the stairs like I always did, but I sort of felt like something was different. My parents weren't arguing, and I felt something had changed with Grandpa, too. There was a weird noise, but I wasn't afraid. Can't explore the basement. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. What the fuck is that? I think Grandpa had to leave, but before he left, he made my parents nice. He reached inside and changed them. That was my wish. Maybe even what I was growing wasn't really Grandpa. Grandpa left what I was growing behind. He's gone now. He moved quickly out to I don't know where, but I'll always love him. I dismissed Adrian soon after, letting her know that it was a pleasure getting to know her. Despite my apprehensiveness about the speed of the turnaround she made, I cannot see any reason why Adrian should be considered for further evaluation. As a counselor of Adrian, let it be known that I believe she is of sound mental and emotional health. I am pleased to see things out of this way, and if I may make a brief addendum, by happenstance, Mrs. Richardson bumped into me into the Hart family the other day while running an errand. She told me the parents were a little odd, but very pleasant, and quite clearly they adored their child, and that she had never seen Adrian happier. There are two endings in Governing Grandpa. You have fulfilled contract ending. So, oh, a D cell. Oh, I thought it was giving me something. So clearly giving it the photos of mother and father and giving it my blood allowed it to replace the parents with either replace or overwrite the parents with either doppelgangers or memory wipe them or something. And then it died slash became the parents slash just left. And that could easily be it. Just become a changeling, giving gifts to the other people. Clue is the correct choice because the child is doing great. She's very happy with her new family. I don't see what could have gone wrong. Obviously, the other ending is probably not doing not giving it the blood and the pictures. We could do it again. We could go for the other ending, which I assume is just not giving it the blood. Since this was short, you should do Amy's other game, Discover My Body. I was looking for that one. It's not on Steam. So I'm not sure if it's possible. It did take, I mean, about as long or slightly longer than was advertised and when I Googled how long this game was. So I could look up how to get the other ending. Let's see. YouTube. I guess I got the less likely one because when I googled what's the other ending, it keeps telling me how to do the one that I did, as if I wasn't going to just give it my blood to begin with. It's on itch and it's free. Oh, okay. Let me open up Discord. Downloading random programs live on stream. Okay, so we'll exit out of this guy. We will, I guess, unzip. Launch that. Oh, that is full screen. Okay. OBS, take me to discover my body. There we go. Stato. In the year 2040, human beings look for increasingly strange solutions in hopes of finding connection and community. Distrusting previous institutions that supposedly brought people together in common, lonely people look to technology and science for answers. One such new technology is a psychiatric, powerful labyrinth-synthesized fungi. You, a medical student at the local university, have been brought to study its appreciation, yada yada yada. Ah yes, you must be the new student Dr. Morrison was speaking of. E. You are quite bright. E. Have you ever studied psychological trends, botulism flowering before? E. I see. Well, you're in for quite a treat. E. I have associated with many flowerings before. E. However, this is my first time in the hot seat. E. This facility is equipped with a neutron coronal scanner. E. You'll be able to view my transformation. E. And its various effects on the human bodily systems. E. Just navigate the icon over my body. E. And scan for info points to click on. E. My brain's Broca area has been linked to a digital readout. E. So even if I am at the point where I am, E, beyond human speech, I will be able to communicate. E. Well, please begin your examination. E. All right. Oop. Is he wearing undergarments? Because we're getting dangerously close. Oh, he's covering it. Never mind. Okay, we're good. Check your heart. Let's check this face thingy. Hello. Aha! You've discovered the injection site. 2 weeks ago, Dr. Morrison took a bone-deep needle to my right shin. Oh, sorry. E. It hurt like hell. E. However, what he injected was worth its weight in gold. E. It was a skin graft of a successful PTB flowering. E. What's that? It kind of looks like a face. E. Well, the PTP organism is a psychical? organism? E. Its physical manifestation draws from it a shared pool, E. Of all its denizens, traumas, fears, dreams, E. I believe that my mother's face is on my shin. That's weird, dude. E. Oh, how I miss her, E. But enough about me. Please continue the examination, E. All right. What's that? Aha! You've discovered the primordial inhibitor. This is a device implanted into my brainstem, E, which helps undo certain evolutionary safeguards against operations like this. E. It limits bodily and mental reactivity to meta-existential stimuli. When did we evolve that? When did we evolve the ability to overcome existential dread? Oh, I guess that... No. That doesn't make any sense. E. In not too many words, the flowering is an evolutionary aberration, E. One which requires some retooling of our formational and mental concepts, E. For instance, one who has flowered does not experience the human idea of time, E. But if I tried and apprehended this with my regular old monkey mind, E, I would go quite insane, E. But anyway, please go on. Discover, explore. Look upon my body in despair. What about that? Aha! You've discovered my rotting bones! That's, fucking mood. It's when anybody asks me why I, don't walk straight up or something. Yes, the rot is set in, certainly, E. It itches like the devil, E. But soft bones are required for the PTP to do its work, E. The human body is never intended to experience a flowering, E. In the process, one is contorted psychically and physically, E. Soft, rotting bones are pliable enough to assume a flowering shape, E. Again, though, very painful stuff, E. When I begin to scream, I expect you to keep your cool, though, E. This should be all academic for you, E. Are you getting any class credit for this, by the way? E. I see. Well, please continue. E. Aha! According to the concentration of the PTB in my blood, I will begin the flowering process very soon. Quick, give me your wallet to bite down on. Wow, that hurt. E. Sorry, I seem to have bit a bit too hard and broken a couple teeth. E. Give me a moment to spit them out. E. Give me the old huck to it. E. Now then, as you can see by my face, E, I am midway through the flowering process. Hurrah! E. I can feel the inkling of a pan-psychic connection. E. And my body has experienced amazing and terrible growth, E. See for yourself, E. Alright, seems fine so far. Hey, that's new. Please tell me your junk's not hanging out now, because you're not covering it. Ah, jeez. Ah, jeez. Well, maybe he's like a Ken doll now. Seems to have grown a skirt of some kind. What is that? Aha! You've discovered that my hands have fallen off. Yeah, that's probably what the screaming was about, wasn't it? Well, I suppose I'll never play a violin again. Haha. Well, no more practice needed. I know that practicing a musical instrument is kind of hard to keep up with. E. Joking aside, this is pretty much to be expected. E. Part of the primordial inhibitor, E, is to disassociate brain and hand connectedness. E. As a result of this, the hands fall off, E, as they are merely vestigial baggage, E, standing in the way of a superior evolution, E. E. I'm sorry, just briefly had a bit of an ego death there for a moment. Fucking mood, bro. E. I can feel my thoughts intertwined in the rhizoic group mind. Oh, is that what the flowering is? E. Please continue, E. Yeah, I think your legs fall off too. Aha! You've discovered my bone growths. E. As I was saying about the dramatic changes PTB flowering incurs, E. Well, now at a bone deep level, my skeletal system, E, is basically sponge cake. E. But look closer, E. My bone fragments have begun to reassemble, E, into a complicated, if fragile, latticework, E, of wafer-thin psychic receptors, E. Some of the bones are peeking out of my skin, E. I knew that. I felt it. Ha ha! E. E. Please, go on, E. Aha! You've discovered my new minds. Plural? E. To the extent that the brain is a mind, that is, E. We'll leave that to the philosophers. E. As my own mind-brain disintegrates into the group mind, E. What remains of my body becomes a small distribution of other flowering mind-brains, E. As we speak, I am flooded with powerful memories that are not my own. E. I feel, well, it's hard to even use the word I anymore. E. Even to distinguish ourselves from our timeless unity seems wrong. E. I feel infinite pleasure as well as infinite pain. E. Is this what death is? E. Aha, I see we are at the final stages. I complete the flowering. E. Infinite pleasure, pain, E. Death, E. I'm so happy. I am so happy. E. I'm so happy. Well, he seems happy with his decision. A little bit freaky, though. Like, he was really into this. Oh, that was very short. A little bit of body horror, a little bit of trans identityism, becoming part of the cloud of flower creatures. Was it, oh boy. Were the flowers before, or is the flowering just a collection of human minds only? Or is it some sort of other unfathomably vast consciousness that humans can just bootstrap themselves into via this one injection site that makes a pus-filled uh, protrusion that looks like your mother? Everyone will become crab or mushroom. There is no escape. I mean, that's kind of true, especially if you get eaten by a crab. Crab's just such an efficient organism. What was the other one that I saw recently? Some other evolutionary thing was remarkably common. No, I don't remember. So at the start that they made a synthetic mushroom hive mind for people to experience unity. Okay. I must have breezed past that part in my excitement. But that is terrifying in its own kind of way. Hopefully, after it settles down for a bit, and the experience of self is completely gone, then the pain might end. But being as it is a group mind group think, you never know. Becoming one with the organism. Not that I've ever experienced anything like that. Becoming a Gestalt consciousness, that is. Well, that was interesting. It felt very much like a first project, and the second one was, or the first one that we played was much more baked, and not just in a gameplay kind of way. The first one, or that one, the second one, the explore my body, discover my body. Um, it feels like something you could just crack out in a weekend if you actually knew what you were doing. Very body horror, though. The first one was kind of unsettling with the noises and the way that the creature moved. I did like the use of the filters over it to make it look pixelated, which definitely improved upon what body horror is hard to do in modern graphics really well. Everything's all slimy and gross looking, and if you look too close at it, it's not really realistic, you know. But the graphics made it pretty good. Well, that I believe is all that we have for today. Tomorrow was going to be oh, what's the name of that thing? I keep forgetting. Iron Lung, which is, I think it was popular a year or so ago, but we'll give it a shot. That's all that I got for today. This was fun. I want more psychological horror games. I think that maybe there's a bundle on Steam of psychological horror games, but they got to be good. They got to be kind of short, especially if I want to stream them. Not really a point in going nuts about it if it's going to take several. I mean, 2 streams is probably the limit of something that I would just want to have for little streaming activity. Oh, shit. Played Soma yet? I have not. I think I even own it. Let's see. I search Steam. Soma. I do own it. No, I have not played it yet. I wonder if I got it as part of a bundle or in discount. Give the Soma in 3 to 4 streams. Very good. Yeah, I know that it's good. The reviews on it are very good. Store page. Yeah. Gotta put in my date of birth. Overwhelmingly positive with over 21,000 reviews. Like, I will eventually give it a shot. Maybe I could have done that. Oh well. Just spend a week cracking it out. Or just post, actually, that could be what I replace Arena with at the end of the week. Just start Soma. That would make sense. Because I was thinking that I might just replace Arena on the schedule with a horror game and surprise anybody who shows up for Magic the Gathering. Yeah. Screw those guys. Yeah, I might do that. I'll think about it. Anyway, I believe that will be it for me. I'm going to go and mess around maybe on Helldivers or something. But that'll be it for me today. Please come to the next one. It will be fun, I'm sure. I think Iron Lung is only supposed to be a little bit shorter discovery game. But until next time, I will see you and have a good evening. This is my outro.